Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast, Season 3, Episode 49, where my internet is still probably broken, but we are going to be talking all about working with clients and some of the best practices and pitfalls to go through. So if you missed it, last week we talked with Dennis from Fangs. That was a great episode, but if you watched live, you missed 20 minutes because of problematic internet. So there's not much I can do there, and I apologize. So if we do have some issues with our internet today, there's literally nothing I can do about it. I have a tech coming out again between 5 and 6 p.m. tonight. They're not going to find anything. They never do. Anyways, let's talk about the... I am very passionate about customer support, like very passionate. For those that don't know, I have an issue with Bamboo and their customer support because I firmly believe that the product is pretty much meaningless. It is all about the support. That's the big thing. If you are joining us live, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed. I see Mad Cat is here, Karen is here, Lucid Fox, Guido Hendricks is here as well. Lucid is asking, have I learned nothing? Where is Victoria? She is on the ottoman over there. She's a cat, man. I can't tell cats what to do. They just kind of do what they want to do. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. For some reason, there's not a lot of people here, but maybe because they don't want to deal with bad internet, and it's a little frustrating, but oh well. Learn how to herd your cat. No, that's not... there's literally a saying, like herding cats. It doesn't work. But, yeah, Queen of the Ottoman Empire. That's right, she is the Queen of the Ottoman Empire. She is enjoying her time over there. She's also under a fan that's running pretty harsh right now, so I think she's enjoying the cool breeze. But let's talk about a little bit more in depth of the relationship with 3D modeling. Right, last week we had our interview with Dennis. The week prior we kind of talked about getting started as a 3D modeler, and it was pointed out in the comments that I missed a kind of a big thing, which is totally missed the fact that you can go to school. You can go to school to learn CAD. You don't have to learn it yourself. You can of course pay to go to school. I ignored that one, mainly because it is so ungodly expensive here in the United States to do that kind of thing. The vast majority of people don't do that because they can learn on their own for a fraction of the price. And while they might not have a degree, it is often not required to have a degree to do the job, at least in my experience. Nobody's ever asked for my engineering degree, and we do just fine. So, we have the client-modeler relationship, and for those that have worked directly with clients or taken some sort of commission work, you know that can be a little bit, let's go with challenging. And there are some pretty deep and dark pits that you can fall into for this kind of thing. One of the big ones is dealing with scope creep, as well as dealing with clients that just won't be happy. Why? I don't know. But scope creep specifically for 3D modeling is a big one. And when you get into 3D printing, if you've scoped creep your design so much, you can't print it. We're actually going through this with a client, a long-standing client who I love very dearly, but their client is scope creeping the ever-loving hell out of a project where we made it over a year ago, and it's still in design. To give you an idea, this is a year of someone's time, and the customer is still not happy with the design. I gave up on it over a year ago saying, I don't think we're going to come to a solution that makes sense. So I said, I don't want it anymore, right? I will happily charge for the time that we have in it. I'll provide you with the files. We had it for about 4 months, and the client specifically was very concerned about 3 things, and you can't have all 3 of them. They wanted it to be cheap, they wanted it to look good, and they wanted it to work properly. You can't have all 3 when you're doing a project that involves moving components. We went with a drive shaft method that did everything the client had asked for. They said, no, they don't want a drive shaft. I don't understand why that matters, but fine. We moved into a different area. We went with a push rod method. They said, no, we don't want push rods either. I said, well, what do you want? They said, I don't know, but this is not what I want. And I said, well, with all due respect, this is not what I want. I don't want this relationship anymore. Because at that point, we had already burned over $10,000 of time. And the designers were pissed. I was pissed. The client was pissed. It didn't make sense for us to continue. Right? The client clearly didn't know what they wanted. You have to understand that that is going to happen. It is a big issue out there. And because they came from a client, so it is an injection molding facility that we work with. They bring in clients. Those clients often need to have prototyping work done. We do all the prototyping work. I went to the injection molding facility and said, nope, I'm not doing this. I don't want to do it. If you make it and they're happy, and we effectively fired the client. Now, they still stayed with my client, which was the injection molding facility. And I guess they've been working on it now for over a year, and that is just bad. And I think what occurred here is that the onboarding went poorly. Why? Well, there's a lot of options here. I can see that I'm still dropping frames, so if for some reason you guys are having issues, let me know, but please don't comment about it constantly. It is going to upset me and it will derail this. But if we do start losing a lot of packets, I will go ahead and either end the stream and we'll just upload a recording, or minimally I will upload the raw recording that I am doing here locally. So anyways, onboarding is pretty much the big thing. And if you don't have onboarding properly the way that you need, you are going to find yourself in a position where expectations are not set appropriately. As with a lot of designers, we do a free consultation. We try to limit it to 25 minutes or less. That way I can get it done in a half hour, and we don't charge for it, right? Because the idea is I need to get a better understanding so that I can better talk to the team. Right? The engineers need to know. I need to disseminate the information that matters to them, that matters to me, and get the people the information that is required. But part of this is also setting clear boundaries and contracts. The problem with 3D designing for contracts is that often scope creep comes in, and that requires lots of change orders. And those change orders kind of suck to do. So how do we solve this? I don't unfortunately know the answer to that, because I still don't know. We have a contract that we use for jobs that are over $1,000. If your job is under $1,000, you pay me up front. I don't care. If it's over $1,000, we go into a contract that can get very complicated, because every single scope creep is a new contract that must be signed, that must be signed, that must be signed, that must be signed. And it sucks, but hey, that reminds customers that at the end of the day, you are changing what we agreed upon, and I'm making sure that you're aware of that. So it tends to work. So if you define that scope of work and the customer agrees to it and you do the work and they say they're not happy, hello, this is my statement of work that you agreed to. This is the work that we've done. It is what it is. You have to have those clear goals in with that scope of work. And part of that normally includes some sort of timeline. You want to make sure that you have an appropriate timeline in there. What we often recommend is that you set a much longer time frame than you believe you need to get the project done. If you don't, you will find yourself trying to rush to get the project done, or simply missing those deadlines. And a missed deadline equals a pissed off customer, which don't miss deadlines if you can avoid it. It's not a good move, and there's really no right way around it. People will get upset. So we often tend to underpromise and overdeliver, because at the end of the day, then we look like Superman rather than we look like, I don't know, pick a villain from Superman. I used a reference that I don't know villains from because I don't pay enough attention. Oh well, pick your poison for villains. You want to be the good guy in this relationship, and it is very easy to be the bad guy. One of the big things that you might find yourself doing is getting very frustrated at the customer. If they are scope creeping, if they're moving away from the boundaries that were set, there are some problems that you can deal with. And while you might get frustrated, you don't want to take that out on the customer, right? I was on the phone with Spectrum for 25 minutes before going live. It's why I might seem a little bit flustered, so sorry if I seem a little bit flustered. But I go to them and say, look, I am upset. I'm doing my best not to take it out on you, but please understand this has been an ongoing issue for X amount of time. We have had X amount of techs out here with absolutely zero resolution. We have a problem. Did I just lose another light bulb in here? I did. I just lost another light. Okay. Well, I'm all out of ideas, so. Or wait, was that light bulb working and then all of a sudden just died? Okay. All right. I guess I didn't realize that a bulb was running. I don't know, man. These go off the rails sometimes. I'm sorry. This is why I've debated on stop doing these live, but they are fun to do live. Kenneth Sang says LED bulbs rarely ever die. I have 3 that are now dead in this room. I'm back down to 2. So the one above the cat bed came back on, or just died again. I don't know. Oh well. The contracts help you set those boundaries. Because if you don't set those boundaries with the scope of work, you're going to have some issues. Now, often you might decide to add revisions into your boundaries. We do this. We allow for 2 minor change orders. If you don't do them, no big deal. We apply that difference. We normally say each of those change orders should be a half hour or less. And because we allow for the clients to see the work in progress, we can generally nip it in the bud and, well, create less of a problem before it gets too terribly bad. So one of the big deals is that communication. And unfortunately, a lot of us suck at that, myself included. I am not always the best at providing regular updates to clients. We utilize Fusion 360 here, and we provide the viewable link to them that will update as we save and as we do things. But I realized over the years that people don't check that. They want me to tell them where we are at and why. Part of this is making sure that you have a good project management flow, whether you're utilizing some sort of program or you have a system that you use internally. Having that project management flow will be a good way for you to keep things on track where they need to be kept on track, and as well to get rid of things when they fall off of that track. Those feedback loops are incredibly valuable, because if you are not letting the customer know early on what's going on, you might send them something that's like 80% done and they wanted it way different because of a miscommunication. So sending that information and allowing them to see it more often is a phenomenal way to make this kind of thing happen. Now, it's not always easy, and especially for those of us that are neurodiverse, we often forget to do things because it's not at the forefront of our mind. What is in the forefront of my mind? Getting things done, getting the part done, making the client happy. It's not always just, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing, this is what we need. Because it's not often where we look at things. So, how do you solve this? if I had the answer, I would tell you. I honestly kind of struggle with this myself, where we will get so deep into the work that we totally forget to update the client. And then I have to wait for them to text me because I'm not even remembering that we're supposed to be communicating. Kind of stupid, but it is what it is, right? You have to get those feedback loops. Utilizing the right tools and managing those expectations will be a huge tool for you in making sure that you have a proper flow. You can use Slack, you can use Asana. What are some other tools? I guess Trello would be one out there, but it also requires you to make sure that you look at it, right? Don't ask how many tabs I have open. Don't ask how many windows. How many windows do I have open? Oh, I only have 8 windows open. That's not too bad. But, I mean, that can give you an idea of how much is actually going on. And there's probably close to 300 tabs open because I am doing quite a few different things at one time. Welcome to the world of being a business owner, where everything from looking at enamel pins, looking at companies to do t-shirts, you know, and other merch stuff, all the way to client projects, me watching certain areas for deals to pop up, things like that. There's a lot. And if you don't have that structure, you're going to find yourself very quickly moving away from structure. And structure is often the only thing that keeps us sane at the end of the day. But knowing what those constraints and possibilities are and letting the client know is a big deal too. We often say that we only have 2 limitations here in the company, and that is your imagination and your budget. And while that is technically true, it is not realistically true, right? Time is the other really big factor that we have to look at and understand. If we don't keep good track of the time frame, we can quickly absolutely blow time frames out the window, and now we're working on borrowed time. You never want to work on borrowed time. Often, though, when we are working on borrowed time, it is because there was a scope creep involved in the process. So, something to be aware of there as well. But pricing is one of those that tends to slip people up. And we had someone in our Discord talk about how they wanted to do their pricing. And I said, you are about 5x less than you should be. Well, what do you mean? You know, $15 an hour for CAD modeling is good. I said, no, it is not. You need to charge at least $50 an hour, if not more, right? You need to look at charging a reasonable amount. Here's the weird thing, right? People shop a lot with price, and if you are the cheapest, you will get more work. This is known, but you will also be overworked so much that you're going to burn out. I'd rather take half the work and go from $15 an hour to $50 an hour than I would to have double the work and only make $15 an hour. You don't want that scenario. You want to be making more money. Because remember, if you double your rate and your business gets cut in half, you are making more net profit. So always listen to that. It is a common problem that we see. And we've talked about pricing before, so I'm going to kind of move through pricing a little bit fast, but I want to talk about some things that are specific in the 3D modeling industry that will be something of value. Something like transparent pricing. Now, we bill by the hour, but I give an accurate quote up front. It is going to take X amount of time to get your work done. It is going to take X amount of weeks to get that work done. It is going to cost X amount of money. This is what you owe us. And if it is a very expensive project, we do what is called progress payment, progress delivery, or milestone payments, as some people would be aware of. We take a deposit, which is normally 50%, and then we do 2 or 3 milestones throughout the process where we say, here we are, money please. Here we are, money please. And if they don't pay, we stop work immediately because, well, we have exhausted that current amount of money that we have, and we need more money to continue going on, right? So if it's a 10-hour job, we would take, 5 hours up front, maybe a middle ground at the next 2.5, and then the final one of the final 2.5. Something that our staff has done once and only once, and I will never forgive them for it. I have, but I will make fun of them because we make fun of each other. It's what we do. Is one of our staff accidentally sent the raw CAD file to the client rather than sending a 3D viewable file. And we lost about $6,000 of work because what they did is there we go. We lost about $6,000 of work. What the client did is they took that CAD model and then they just ran with that rather than paying us out the entirety of the contract. The entirety of the contract included considerable further work. My assumption is they took that CAD model and they went to somebody on like Fiverr or Upwork that was much cheaper and never heard from them again. They never contacted me ever again. While they were contractually obligated to finish it, I didn't feel like going through the legal ramifications to make all that stuff happen. So sometimes you look at it and say it's just not worth it. You've learned a good, valuable lesson and you move on. But if someone is ever looking for a product that is like a GoPro on a stick, hit your boy up because we own the rights to it. If they ever go to market, since they never finished paying us, we will actually go after them for a lawsuit because we do actually own the rights to it. They do not because they never finished paying. So, fun things. And those discussions can be really complicated. In that particular one, they ghosted the hell out of us. But there are times where a client has said, oh, it is just this easy. And I'm like, well, it's actually not. And if it was just that easy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You could do the work yourself. It requires us to go back in the history, make that change, then make sure everything past it updates, and that our design history does not end up looking like a Christmas tree. We want it to look right without any, yellows or reds on it, right? We always want it to look clean. And that can be a little difficult, right? To say, hey, what you are asking for costs more money. I need more money to do this. People will often not understand the amount of work that something takes. And, designers like Fotis and Wexter, they often, I don't know if the word's undervalue, but they don't properly show how long this stuff takes. Those sculpts can take hours and days and days and days and days of time. And that can suck. Because if someone steals it, it doesn't feel right. And those difficult conversations can be tough, right? But part of getting into the design is slowly, getting it wrong and then getting it right. You will undercharge for a job. And it is not the customer's responsibility to make up for that lost time. That is your responsibility to better make sure that you don't screw it up next time. Learn the lesson early, learn it easy, learn it on small jobs. Don't take big, crazy, complicated jobs when you're first starting, because that is when you will woefully undercharge and woefully underestimate the amount of time that it takes, and it is absolutely going to hurt. You don't want to have that happen. Start with those small projects. If you do misquote one of them and you quoted way lower than it should have been, let's say you quoted 5 hours and it took you 7. Eat those 2 hours. That's your fault, not the client's. But there is the flip side to that where you quoted 7 and it only took 5. You have 2 options. You can be honest with the customer, tell them that it took less time than you expected, and give them their money back. Or you can keep the money. It's up to you of what you want to do. Oh, dear Lord, we're dropping frames again. Why are we dropping frames? Screw you, Spectrum. Screw you. I should not have these problems. I pay way too much money for my internet. Why am I having these problems? Oh, hello, Mrs. Cat. Are you gonna come up here? Okay. Where's where is he? Where's the one that likes the cat? Where's Lucid? Lucid, there's the cat. Oh my god. Why are we dropping so many frames? What the hell is going on? I'm so sorry. What the hell is going on? Guys, I don't know how to solve this, and I'm sorry. I am so frustrated with this. Like, because everything goes yellow. YouTube yells at me. I'm sorry if you're having a bad stream. There's nothing that I can do. If you have an issue with this, you should tweet at Spectrum. Matrix Neo says, just move on. It's very frustrating to me because I watch our concurrent viewers drop in half. And it's very, very frustrating to see that. Because this is part of how I try to pay for my life. Anyways, I've had this discussion too many times. So, hi, Miss Kitty. Hi, Miss Kitty. All right, let's just jump back onto the bandwagon after losing over 5% of the frames that we've sent in the past 26 freaking minutes. Go to hell, Spectrum. Well, whatever. All right, so those discussions can be difficult. And I want those to be easier. But because a lot of us have issues with confrontation, right? Those issues with confrontation can mean that you would rather suck it up than potentially just, have that discussion. And those discussions can be good and they can be very, very difficult. But I think it's good that you learn how to have them early on because it can absolutely help you in what you do. Revision limits are another one. And if clients constantly go through the problem of multiple change orders, that starts to suck. And there's very little that can be done about it. But if you set change order limits, revision limits, then that keeps the person from losing their sight of what they wanted you to make, especially when it comes to inventors. I'm going to call out inventors here. Inventors often will scope creep the hell out of their projects for no valid reason because they want everything and yet they don't understand what it takes. And because they don't understand what it takes, there is a frustration involved when there's extra money. With inventors, after our scope of work is defined, we limit to 5 change orders before we start a new contract. Because at that point, the project has changed enough to where it's no longer the same thing anymore. And we must redefine the statement of work and redefine the scope of the project. Because if we don't do that, we will find ourselves getting kind of lost in everything rather than getting the project done. And that's a problem. You want to make sure that you also properly handle those requests, right? Stating that, oh, we don't do, scope changes. That doesn't work. You, at some point, will need to provide some level of advice to the client because the clients often don't know what they want. They don't know why. They also don't have a general understanding of what. And so often they need their hands held. Now, if they've done this a few times, this is no problem. You'll get through this. It is easy peasy lemon squeezy. But especially for first timers or people that are commissioning a big job for the first time, and maybe they've only ever done smaller jobs, you will need to do some hand holding a little bit more than you might have otherwise. And that can suck. Well, it doesn't have to. These difficult discussions about money, right, can easily be solved by making sure that your contract very clearly states what is required and why. That contract is the Bible for your business when you are dealing with that customer. You have to understand that that is what you look at. If they say, well, this is not what I wanted, was it in the scope of work? Did they agree to this? Was the scope of work adequately set? And if you missed something that you should have asked, then you say, you know what? You're right. It wasn't in the scope of work, and that's on the both of us. So here's what I'll do. I'll eat half, you eat the other half. And I've never had a customer ever say that that's not acceptable. We said that, hey, we missed that. You missed it as well. I asked if there's anything more that you wanted to bring up for the scope of work. You said no. Well, this is a big deal and it was missed. So here's the deal. I'll eat half. You pay me the other half. And that is a great way to come to a level agreement. And if you have appropriate profit margins, this is not a big deal. Yes, you're accepting a little bit less money for a portion of the job, but that's a portion of the job. So you make a little bit less net profit. You don't lose the customer, and they see that you are willing to negotiate and willing to be human rather than you are going to be steadfast and just doubling down on this is your fault, this is your fault, this is your fault, because it's not. Often problems when these occur are a joint problem where you screwed up by not asking, they screwed up by not saying anything, and everyone is just uniquely and equally at fault. And that's okay. And in my opinion, that's where we equally share the load of the problem. And you know, it's worked out every time. The thing is, you don't want those to happen very often. So don't try to have that happen very often. You will learn, right? As you go through and make those mistakes, you'll go through. But you do want to make sure that each of those revisions has a dollar value, or at least an hour value associated with it. We have stopped doing hours. What we've done is started doing project-based pricing. Because we found that, especially in this industry, when I say, oh yeah, it's an 8-hour project, they will bother me in 8 hours wondering where their project is, not knowing that it has to go into the design queue. We have some internal meetings about it, and it maybe takes a couple of weeks to get done. And I laugh because I unfortunately have done that way more times than I care to admit. Because in my head, it should be very obvious that that's not how this works. No, it is not obvious. And most people don't know that's not how it works. So it is good to, in my opinion, go to a project-based pricing where you charge flat amounts of money. So instead of a 10-hour project, we would charge X amount of money instead. And often that can help you slowly raise your profit margins by slowly. So let's say you're charging $75 an hour. 2 hours would be $150. It's a $200 project. The difference between $150 and $200 for a client is not really all that much. If they were willing to spend $150, they're probably willing to spend $200. And if you want to make them feel special, you can give them a 10% discount for being a first-time customer, and you're still making more money. So, fun life hacks for pricing. But that is a pitfall that I've fallen into, and I still unfortunately say it from time to time because it is so ingrained into my head that this is X amount of time for a designer, so that's how long the project takes. So don't make that mistake. Start early on by giving a project price rather than an hour price. But that also should include change orders. When they come up, say, all right, give yourself a bit to think. Say, okay, I'm thinking this is going to be about a $300 change order. It's going to require this, 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 and this, right? Every change order has that scope of work for what's going into it. Define that scope of work and then have the client agree to it. If they don't agree to it, fix it. Those scope of works will be the definition for how you run this thing. And if you don't have a good scope of work, especially problematic clients will find their way around it. and use your poor scope of work as leverage to make you work more for less. When it comes to delivery, you have to ask what they need. Often in the 3D printing industry, people just want STL files. However, if you're working with engineers, they might also want a step file or, the raw file with all the history. As a general policy, we don't provide the files with the history to clients unless they've been long-standing clients that aren't going to cut us out. If you give the product with the history in it, it is very easy for someone to see how you did it, and with a few projects, learn how to do the work themselves and cut you out. Now, I'm not saying this because you don't want people to stop working with you, because at some point it is time for them to move on. But you want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up to be taken advantage of, right? So part of your scope of work includes what those deliverables are going to be. Because if you don't have that, then you're missing part of your scope of work. You might even include in that contract how you deal with contract resolution and issues with conflict. You want to make sure you're limiting those conflicts. And, you got to know when to walk away. You got to know when to run. Part of this is knowing when it is time to say, I'm done, screw it, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me help you out. What the Sam Hill? Well, something's going on with the bamboo. Can't look at it now. Hooray, more problems. Bamboo things. We want to make sure that there's also a good way to provide feedback. You might have a weak contract, but you might have a great ability to get feedback. And that feedback can help you set a better contract as you move forward. Part of that feedback, and is something that all of us, no matter who you are, we crave that feedback. Often it is a positive feedback loop, but I would argue that the negative feedbacks are way more important than the positive ones. Positive ones tell you, oh, you did a great job, thanks, great, those feel good. The negative ones will say, hey, this could have been better, I would have loved a little bit more input here. Those kind of things move miles in assisting you in getting a better product for the client. Because while you can't fix the thing that happened with them, you can fix it for the next time. And I have a habit of where when we are done with the project, my last kind of final meeting with the person will be a post-mortem. What could we have done better? And it's how we learned that we're not the best at communicating, and I have to get better at it. And unfortunately, I don't always have that answer or that solution. And it can oftentimes lead to complications that I didn't foresee coming because I didn't tell the client. So, yeah, problems, basically. Don't have them if you can avoid them, obviously. Payment. There are so many ways to get paid right now. And I would argue that a lot of them are very detrimental to designers and people that make stuff. You have to make sure that you have a secure way of payment that is also easy to handle issues when a client does a chargeback. I've talked about it before. The client that did a chargeback 11 months after getting the project. That sucked. Now, we won that chargeback because I was very much able to prove that it broke the same way that the OEM one did, and they specifically asked for an OEM replacement. Right? That is part of it. But that sucked because it was very difficult for us to get through. Right? It was not something that I really wanted to do. But it worked. It was a very, very bad situation because it was like 90 days of me really trying to be like, oh man, what do we do? Wasn't always a solution. There should have been red flags in the beginning that I saw, and I didn't see it. I wasn't willing to give this guy his money back. And VMJR748 said, if the customer is paying you to provide prototypes, they also own all the CAD associated with that project. That depends. If you are willing to give up the rights to the work, by all means you can. But often, if you are getting paid to design and print something, the client is not paying for the rights of ownership and reproduction. They are paying for you to design the part. You will maintain a license. They'll maintain a license to produce it, but produce it through you. Now, this is where hardcore business would jump in and say, wait a minute, the value of these parts are way more than you think when you look at a vast scale of manufacturing. I'm going to use the Dixon Ticonderoga pencil because it's probably one of the greatest examples of an initial upfront cost resulting in crazy, crazy profits in the backside. When we go to the pencil, it costs them over $250,000 to make the first one and a fraction of a penny to make the next one. If all you do is make the part for $200 and you give them the model, then they go off and they produce millions of them, you're going to feel like you got screwed. So what we often do with clients is we provide different packages where they pay a considerable amount more money to get the rights to the part rather than just the rights to produce it. And that right to produce exists within us. It's like a mold shop where if you go overseas and you pay to have molds made, you don't own those molds. Check your contract. You don't own those molds. You're paying a percentage, and they own the molds. And that's a problem if you're dealing with intellectual property. It's like with 3D scanning, where we will do a scan of you, and we'll print you for like $120 to $200. Not very expensive. But if you want the data, I am charging no less than $2,000 to do it, because that data has value. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and ask all of Hollywood right now, the SAG-AFTRA that is striking because that they're not being adequately compensated when they get 3D scanned. So what the studios are trying to do is scan the background characters and pay them for 1 day, scan them, and then use AI to reproduce them in perpetuity. So at a certain point, you get enough 3D models of people, you don't need to do anything anymore. You don't need to pay people. You have to pay some animators, but that is way less than paying a bunch of actors multiple days, hundreds of days often. You have their 3D models, you can pay an animator to do it in a couple of days. So yeah, there's a huge issue when we talk about rights of ownership, and this is something that you need to set out explicitly in your contract. It's why people like Fotis, who is here. Hey Fotis, how you doing? You need to make sure that you set those rights. So like with Fotis, he has a tier 4 that you can sell, right? But the lower tiers don't allow commercialization. That's how it goes. Kenneth Sang says, so if you scam me, you own my model, you can put me in all sorts of compromising positions. I mean, technically we could, but I don't care to. We maintain that intellectual property because that is an asset of our business. If you would like to purchase that intellectual property, I am happy to provide it, but I need to get compensated for the value of that intellectual property. And when you look at the value, especially of a human right now, of a high-end scan of a human being, it is very high. Now, I'm not going to charge those kind of rates, and often it's common with cosplayers where they just want the model. They don't care what we do with the model. So we will use those scans and we'll show them off. If you own the rights to it, I don't own it anymore. It's not mine, and I can't use it anymore for marketing purposes. It's a very, very common thing that we see. Red Size A says, remember a professor in college talking about charging one price if the customer wants the exclusive license for the software versus a cheaper price if you can sell it to someone for contract work similar. Yes, that is exactly what we're talking about, where you have an exclusivity license and then a license where if I want to keep selling it to somebody else, I can. With inventors, we always charge the heavy rate where they own the rights to it. If they said, why is that so expensive? I said, because you own the rights. If you want to get charged less, we will maintain ownership. But if you're getting a patent, you can't get a patent anymore because it's my product, not yours. We are giving you the license to reproduce it through us. It's a complicated project. And often with CAD, it's easier to just say, I don't want the rights to it. And, do it from there. 3DHP says, has I ever tried scanning my cat and print? No. Sorry. Animals are very difficult to scan, and it is one of the few things that I don't scan. I don't scan animals, unless they're deceased, unfortunately. We could try to scan her, but the flashing light is going to upset her, and it's going to be a problem. So, that's going to be a thing. Fotis is asking if we're going to be at IRF. Yes, we will be at the East Coast Rep Rap Festival in Bel Air, Maryland. It's like October 1st and 2nd or 30th. I don't know. I'm there from that Friday through Tuesday. So, Fotis says, will I scan him this year? I don't think I'm bringing a scanner with me. I don't like carrying around the expensive scanner because it's an expensive scanner. But we can talk offline about it if you want. So I will be there, but we had a scanner last year because we got paid. We were scanning the Philadelphia Flyers the couple of days prior, so I had the scanner on me. So I was willing to do scans there. But if I'm not getting paid to carry the $20,000 briefcase, I probably don't want to do that. So, part of the deal. So, who the hell is calling the shop? Well, oh well. Someone's calling the shop. I will call them back. Yeah, it's a local number. So the red flags, right? Foda says he'll buy me a drink. I'll see what I can do. I don't think I can bring the really nice one, but we might be able to bring some lesser 3D scanners that will be appropriate. So we'll see. So red flags, right? Red flags are a big thing to look out for, and you want to figure out those early on. He says, joking. Fotis, I feel like you could sculpt yourself better than I could scan you. Like, just gonna be really clear, your sculpts are so good, I don't think even my really, really high-end scanner could get anywhere near the kind of quality that you can get. So, I don't know. Certainly faster. I can get a scan of you that is high quality faster than you can sculpt it. But yeah. Anyways, red flags, right? For us, it's the word just. The word just is a red flag. If someone uses the word just, they don't understand the time, value, effort, energy, everything that goes into the project. And that might mean you have two options. Option one, educate them, try to get them to understand what is going on and why. Option two, kick them to the curb and find somebody else. And it kind of depends. I will often go to option one first, and if I can tell they're kind of glassing over, they're not very interested, they don't really care, then moving on. Somebody else can deal with them. But if they do pay attention, they learn, they enjoy it, then we might choose to move forward because now they have a fundamental understanding. You have to make sure it is really, really well defined. There are some other things, things like they want to pay via check. I don't accept checks. I will pay the wire transfer fee to not accept a check because we have gotten a bad check from a client before. And because a check takes so long to deposit, well, it doesn't anymore, but big checks take a while to deposit. We had already shipped their stuff and they sent me a bad check and I had to get a lawyer for that because that's fraud. They knowingly sent a bad check. I believe that's check fraud. So that was not fun. Thankfully, it was resolved. They paid their bill. They got some fines associated with it from their local constabulary, if you will. And we fired them as a client, because if you're going to be deceptive and try to screw me and screw my business, then screw you. We ain't working with you no more. You will come up with, you will find this. People that will use like PayPal goods and services, where they will get the stuff from you and then they'll just do a chargeback because it wasn't exactly how they wanted. And if you don't have a contract, you're SOL. There is no chance of you getting that money. But if you have a contract that is signed, digitally signed, or in ink if it's local, by these people, that is the only way that you can fight these. And often, even then, you're not going to win. So we find that it is better when you can to make sure that you have a good contract in place so that you, as the owner, are protected. And if someone does try to screw you and they succeed in it, open source their stuff, because mutually assured destruction is, well, not the nicest way to do things, but hey, if they screwed you, screw them, you know? I don't know. Maybe that's the part of me that's vengeful. But you do want to make sure that you can nip those people in the bud before they become a problem. And it is identifying those red flags. You can try to resolve conflict if the customer is just not happy, right? Say, look, I can tell you're not happy. This doesn't seem like it's working out. Let me help you find a designer that can work better for you. That's where you call upon your buddies and say, hey, this is the client. This is their deal. It's just not a good fit. Would any of you like the job? And if they say no, then you say, look, I tried. There's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. Here is where we are at. At that point, if a customer is not happy, we will often provide them with the raw model because it's not finished. And unless they get someone that can work in the same program, that raw model has no value to them whatsoever. It'd be like providing a sculpt that I did, but Fotis is giving it to somebody. That has no value to them. So it is really just the, I'm sorry, here are the rights, I don't want it anymore. But you do want to make sure that you're following up with these people. Especially with inventors, they just kind of don't. They don't do anything. They're quiet. You won't hear from them. And the follow-up is very important because there might be things that they needed to change or things they needed to do or things that they wanted that is just not a possibility anymore. This helps you make that thing not a problem. Those follow-ups are good because it can also help you build that network, and especially having referrals. As a 3D modeler and a 3D printer, the bulk of your business is likely coming from referrals. People that have liked the work that you've done and talked about it. You see that I always talk about going to support people that I like because I want to refer others to them because I believe their work is valuable. It's why I ask those of you that like the work that we do to like, subscribe, comment, share it with people, tell them that you like this kind of stuff, because that is the easiest way that this stuff grows. An introduction from a happy customer makes a cold lead completely hot, because now that lead has that value of someone that has had that good experience and is ready, willing, and able to do work with you because they have that confidence that you did good with this person, you're going to do well with me. It's why websites want testimonials. It's why small businesses ask for Google reviews, because those testimonials are absolutely imperative to making certain that the relationship is clear and upfront from the beginning, if that makes sense. I love referrals, but with a lot of the work that we do, we don't get them because people don't want to talk about. They feel like in giving us a referral, they have to talk about the project. I'm like, no one cares about the project. They care about what kind of a time you had working with us. That is more important to them. And yeah, I want to provide that to people. So the network. You want to try to keep some of these clients as people that follow you, right? You guys haven't met them. Maybe one day you will, but I have a couple of friends, Jazz and Joe. Hi, Jazz and Joe, if you're actually watching. They were customers. Joe called us to get a custom part made for his wife, Jazz, who loves Sailor Moon and has the limited edition 3-pack Sailor Moon Funko Pops. But they don't make stands for those, so we made a custom stand. Joe and Jazz came over to pick it up, and we were talking for like 4.5 hours in my driveway. Because that's apparently how I make friends. I turn customers into friends. And while I don't think they've done any more functional business with us, oh, there she is. Jazz is here. Hi, Jazz. While I don't think they've placed any further orders, I've printed stuff for them on and off. Like when they came over to help me a couple of weeks ago, I made Jazz a bunch of pink Sailor Moon stuff. So Amber's also there. Hi, Amber. So yeah, those relationships have so much more value to me than the customer itself is worth, because they know the work that we do. They're obviously fans of the channel now. They appreciate the fact that we give a damn and that, you know, they tell other people about it. That referral network is quite literally one of the most important things that you can have as a 3D modeler. Because let's be real, you probably suck at marketing. I suck at marketing. I have a YouTube channel and I suck at marketing. Why? Because the YouTube channel does not actually bring in customers. I mean, it has every now and then, but the vast majority of people that are watching own 3D printers or, you know, have a 3D printer business. They don't need us, but they like listening. It is what it is, right? Oh, there's Joe. Hi, Joe. But that's okay. I know that I have a crappy marketing thing, but the thing the channel has done for us, and it was its original plan, was to make it so the average person that had questions about 3D printing, 3D scanning, 3D modeling, whatever, could go here and hear from the same person that they're going to be working with about how it works, what it does, and why. So those of you that get the same questions over and over again, I often say make a video or two talking about how you do it and why you do it and what it takes. And in fact, if you're open to it, put a camera behind you as you're working so people can see it, and, you know, obviously do a massive hyperlapse of it or a time lapse of it. That's the kind of stuff that I love to do, because that helps people better understand it, and then they better understand what we do as a process of it. And because they're listening to you or me or whomever, that person now has an understanding of what to expect from your personality or my personality or whomever's personality, right? Because I'm a little bit weird. I know. Grant, you're weird? Yes, I am weird. I never knew. No, you knew it the whole time. I was here the whole time. Like, my cat is on my company website as my director of marketing. And if you book time in my calendar, you get an email from Victoria at 3dmusketeers.com. Well, that email doesn't go anywhere. And in fact, every now and then it will just reply with a meow. And it's the scheduler. It needed an email, so I gave it Victoria at 3dmusketeers.com. And people are like, well, is Victoria joining? I said, yeah, maybe she'll join. And they don't realize it's a cat. And the cat jumps in the frame. They're like, a cat? I'm like, yeah, it's our director of marketing. You didn't look at the website? But then when people have, you know, where they do their research, they're like, oh, is your director of marketing going to be joining you? I said, I can go get her. You know, and then I'll bring the cat into frame, and they love it. So at that point, right, there's that relationship. It's all about that relationship, and it helps so much to bring it down to earth. And while a Fortune 50 company might find that to be unprofessional, we don't work with a lot of Fortune 50 companies, so I don't care. I want people to laugh and enjoy and have a good time with us as a business. And because of that, I do fun things like make my cat the director of marketing. So, yeah. Karen Chow, a Patreon member, thank you very much for your support. Are you in the Discord right now? Is there a bunch of people hanging out in the Discord? Let's see. Oh yeah, we got a little group of people in our Discord. Dom MN is in there. My brother's in there. Mad Cat USA and Zerner are all hanging out in our Discord. So if you do want to go hang out in our Discord, it is the $10 tier higher on any of the platforms. We are going to be getting into printables and things here relatively soon, so keep an eye out if that's where you prefer to support creators like us. It will be an option for you as well. Breaking Elegance says feed the director some tuna. We get a lot of comments about her being pregnant. She's not pregnant. She's tubby. She does love tuna, but no tuna. No tuna. She has cat food. We're moving her to a new cat food, and that's been it's been a thing. 3D Pine Labs is here for the cat. I get it. I know most of you are just here for the cat. We are on the phone with Frontier right now. Oh God. Oh, geez. Well, don't waste too much time. We're using the IAMs, the stuff that ask Mad Cat. It's the same food that that Mad Cat feeds his cats. Yeah, I'm not. This is not cat talk. It's not a cat talk podcast. There are actual things that we're supposed to be talking about here that I need to get back on a topic for. So, what are some common pitfalls? The common pitfalls are going to be underquoting, overcommitting, and lack of communication. Yeah, the things I've talked about from the beginning of this show. You want to make sure that you are not underquoting. It will happen. It will happen. It will happen. It will happen. Don't be afraid of it. But don't let it happen all the damn time. Letting it happen all the time is a problem. If you are still underquoting 2 or 3 months in, you're either not getting enough business, and so you're still learning, or 2, you don't understand the amount of time things take. And if you don't understand the amount of time that things take, time yourself, always, so that you can adjust your pricing. Now, you might opt to, instead of, adding more time, you raise your rate. This is where project-based pricing makes a lot more sense. So if you're $50 an hour and you say, oh, it's going to take 10 hours to do the job, you charge them $500, they pay. All of a sudden, it just took you 15 hours. You go back and they're like, another $250, you're out of your mind. But if you say, actually, this is going to be a $600 project, I'm happy to get it done for you. Now, if you go into a little bit over, it's not too bad, and you can adjust it for next time, right? I think that the hourly thing is kind of, it's kind of old, Project-based pricing is a much better way to do it. And while we actually recently upped our hourly rate, we're now $200 an hour. And we're doing that because I am giving raises to all of our engineering staff because we have not adjusted their salaries in way too long. So I'm giving everybody a raise, and I am adjusting my pricing to accommodate said raise. That Bamboo is really upset. And because it's off a network, I can't stop it. And it's printing carbon fiber nylon. Gotta love it. Oh, well. Yeah. Jasmine said previously, before reaching out 3D Musketeers, we reached out to other 3D printing companies to help us out. We left a voicemail, and a lot never called us back. Communication is key. Grant was super quick about answering us. Joe says, you don't pay a plumber to spend an hour to fix your toilet. You pay him to do it in 15 minutes or less. I mean, that's fair. And, there's the old adage of the ship that brought in someone to fix the engine. All the mechanic did was tighten a bolt and gave the guy a bill for 10 grand. And he said, well, I need an itemized invoice. So I think it was something like tightening the bolt was $1, $999 was for the experience that it took to know which bolt to tighten. Your experience has value to it. You need to make sure that you provide that value and you charge accordingly for it. Because if you don't, people will take advantage of it, right? When you go to Fiverr, you go to Upwork to get something designed. It's being done by someone likely in a third world country who's getting paid pennies on the dollar. And while in some instances that might mean that the exchange rate is very valuable, you're not going to get that relationship that you're going to get with someone who you're going to pay a lot more money. And while you might just need something simple and you don't really care, and for 20 bucks you can have it done in 2 days by someone you're never even going to know their name. If that works for you, then go and do it. But the vast majority of us as humans thrive on connections to others. Whether you are introverted, extroverted, whatever, you want those connections, right? You might be totally fine with staying home all day, not doing a damn thing, but you're probably online playing video games in a Discord server, hanging out, whatever it might be. You still thrive for those connections. And I believe that there is a price to that because there is more time involved in that as well. Clear communication and the lack of it being a common pitfall is something that I don't really have an answer as to how to solve it, because ultimately the way that you communicate will be different than the way that I communicate. And realistically, you need to communicate in a way that your clients are comfortable with, where your clients understand it, where your clients get what they need to make things work. You want that to happen. How? I don't have an answer for you. It is very dependent on what you do and why. Now, what exactly does that mean? It means that you need to look at adjusting the way that you communicate to your customers. Now, a pitfall here is that if you adjust the way that you communicate all the time, your friend group will not know who you are anymore because you're now communicating different. And to maintain that business owner mentality around friends is a really shitty way to screw with your relationships with your friends and loved ones, right? You want to make sure you don't have those problems. I find that customers often need way more hand-holding than I expect. So now I expect the hand-holding, and I actually give a discount if I don't need it. We have a client who I love. They're great. They just give me CAD models. We have an issue where my email always gets spam filtered. We don't know why. He's asked his tech department to whitelist it. I am always spam filtered. I don't get spam filtered with anybody else but this one client. So he just texts me now. We just text back and forth, right? He said, hey, I'm going to send you an email confirmation because that's the purchase order, right? And then I run the parts and I ship them to him. And it's so much easier. We found a way to get around the problem and communicate in a way that made sense for him. I said, you know, I could use, we have a company Gmail account that we could use. Are you? Oh, no. Oh, you've got an error. Are you an error or are you actually paused waiting? I guess we'll find out. Anyone know if a bamboo keeps the bed hot when it's paused? We're going to find out. It is supposed to pause so I can put in some hardware. Day 3 of doing those parts. But that particular client and I have a really good relationship. Like, it works. And part of that is meeting them where they need to be met. They were getting very frustrated with email. I was getting frustrated with email. So I said, all right, I called them and said, hey, we've got other options too. Let's find a different option. Let's not bother with the BS anymore. Let's get a better option that makes sense for you, that makes sense for me, that makes sense for my cat, that makes sense for all parties involved. And it made so much more sense. To give you an idea, I have more than one client that just calls me by some random nickname. The injection molding facility always calls me darling, and it's a dude. I don't know why. He's happily married. He has kids. It was a joke. I remember, I think he was expecting a call from his wife. He didn't check to see who was calling. He answered and said, hello, darling. And I'm like, nope, it's Grant. He said, well, you're darling now. And I think that's how that worked. I have another client who loves Top Gun. Loves Top Gun. And so he'll call me Maverick or call me Goose or Iceman. And so I will randomly send him Top Gun things. I sent him tickets to go see the latest Top Gun movie. Because they've done enough business with me that it's like, oh, $40 for tickets and like a $15 gift card to get some popcorn. No problem, right? that is a relationship that is absolutely worth keeping and makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. So don't don't discount doing some stuff for long-standing customers, right? Like, if one of my long-standing customers needs something fast, I am way more likely to help them out than I am a new person that needs something fast. And I'm not going to charge that long-standing customer as much as I would charge the new person because we have a relationship. And I recognize that relationship is more value to me than trying to eke out a couple extra dollars because of a rush fee. And often the client's like, you didn't charge me enough. Charge me more on that rush fee. Okay, can do. Those are the type of clients you want to find. People that have that relationship. Because remember, while this is a business transaction, you are dealing with another human that has emotions, probably, that has certain wants and needs in their life. And if you can better understand where they are in their life, you can help meet them. You know, great example. My business mentor recently broke his foot in 2 places. We didn't know this for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, that doesn't look right. He ended up going to the doctor, broke it in 2 places. So now he's got one of those little scooters. So I'm gonna make him stupid accessories for his knee scooter, just because he's gonna tell me to go to hell and he's gonna laugh at it. And I know that oftentimes when people are going through injuries where they have a very obvious disability, being able to laugh about it is something that makes all of the difference. For me, I want people to enjoy their time with us. And if that means they know they're going to get talked about in a podcast, or it means, the cat is in the videos, if that means they get to see their parts in a time-lapse Tuesday, or if it means that we show off their parts in actual videos, we enable that for our people because that builds the relationships that we're looking for. Oh my gosh, Joseph Griner says, we should do a ground effects kit. Oh, we totally should. We should put underglow on his knee scooter. See, but that's gonna start going from go to hell to F you as he's laughing. And you have to make sure that you understand what the person is like able to go with before you do stuff like that. But those relationship builds are very, very important. And often helping out someone where they need it, making their emergency your emergency when you don't have to, is what sets you apart from your competition. Literally, I have a part printing right now. I'm trying out different materials, and I'm running the bamboo because I can, for a client that gave me the parts Friday afternoon. I had 20 minutes to order the hardware, and I paid over $60 to have it overnighted to me. Yay, McMaster. Those parts need to leave my shop no later than 2 p.m. Monday, or they're not going to make it to the client in time. They said, we do not care what you charge. We recognize you are going to be working over the weekend for us. We recognize this is a last minute thing. We recognize you have to spend a lot of money to get the hardware that we requested. Because they insert nuts rather than just using heat sets. And I will have a discussion with them about this later. It is like 2 prints. And it's all carbon fiber nylon. I told them that I'm going to make this work. And they were absolutely elated. They had not found a single other company that was willing to do the work for them. These guys are in Connecticut. They worked their way down the eastern seaboard until they found us. Now, they did find us because of a staff member of theirs was previously a member at the Tampa Bay Inventors Council, of which I am on their board of directors. They remembered my wooden business card. And that is how we got that job. You always want to make it right. For them, they've got their own printers. Their printers are down. They need help. I will help them when I get this project done. And that's what they asked. I said, can you help us with the printers? I said, let me get your parts done first. Then let me help you with your printer. Because if I help you with your printer and you don't have enough time to print the parts, I have not solved your problem. Let me solve the immediate problem, and let's solve the longer problem when we have the time to do it. And in that time frame, we will pick up all the printing on their behalf. and be able to make their lives more comfortable. That matters more than anything. Although, like Mr. David Randolph says, by the way, Dave, happy 10 years to Printed Solid. Today is Printed Solid's 10-year anniversary, so happy business birthday. He says, best way to deal with clients is to do your best not to have clients in the first place. Part of me wants to say I absolutely agree with that because I don't want to have customers or clients. I want to have friends. You know, I don't have friends. I have family. I get it. But if you try to make every one of your customers your friend, it's going to be a bad day because there will be just bad customers and there is nothing that you can do about it. Period. There's nothing that you can do to stop that from happening. We got to get Dave back on the podcast. I'll DM you, David. We have to get you back on the podcast. Maybe we talk about, talk about the acquisition from Prussia and the exit. I think we were supposed to do an episode like that and we never made it. He said, friends with high net worth. Hey, that's what it's all about, man. You don't want to own a boat. You want a friend that owns a boat. So you can buy the beer, you can pay for part of the gas, and you don't have to pay for the maintenance, right? Friends with airplanes, same way. Getting your pilot's license is expensive. Keeping airplanes is expensive. Having friends with planes means you get to go places, right? Or you get Patreon members that are commercial pilots that are cool. That if I ever end up in Morocco, I've got flights all around Morocco covered, which would be totally cool. But then I got to get to Morocco. Maybe one day. We'll see. But it is very cool. Even a pickup truck, Spurlock says. Yeah, don't be the guy that owns the pickup truck. Be the guy that knows the guy that owns the pickup truck. Yeah, there's a lot with building those relationships that matters. And I said it in the beginning, I'll say it again. I believe that building that relationship has so much more value than the actual parts you're producing. The parts I'm producing for this client, probably I'm going to charge them $300 to $400 for because of the crazy rush, right? Probably going to charge them a fair bit. I could charge them $1,000 and I would assume they're going to pay me, but I'm not. Because I'd rather be the person they call when they need something or the person that they call when they have questions, and I can bill them for the time there and build that relationship. That has more value. Business and 3D modeling and all of this is not a short-sighted game. You are playing a long game. You want return business. You know, if you as a designer are trying to do parts for people, if it's the same person ordering the same stuff over and over again, you don't have to have these complicated talks because you've already had it once. They understand. They understand the rules of engagement. They know all about what needs to be done to make it work. And all you have to do is do what you're good at. Make cool stuff. That's what it's about. And David is right. If you upcharge too much, then clients remember that and think your regular prices are too high, never come back. So be careful about that too. We like to give first-time discounts when we can. We give massive discounts to people in education. So if it's a student and they can prove that they're still in school, an EDU email is not enough anymore to prove that you're still in school. Or it's a teacher, right? We will give massive discounts because I don't need to make a ton of money to help a student. Now, if you waited to the last minute, I'm giving you less of a discount because it's your own damn fault. But if you're a teacher and you're trying to make stuff for your class, I am not trying to make a living off of charging teachers for things. They don't get paid enough in the United States. And I'd rather build that relationship where we can make really cool stuff for their classes. We've done this a few times. Be the person that charges appropriately when it makes sense. Help out people where they need it. Be kind. You never know. Your customers could become really cool friends of yours and end up over at your house helping you clean it. Because that's what Jazz and Joe have been doing. And while that was never a goal, right? It was never like, oh man, I bet I can make these people good enough where they can help me clean my house up. It was never that. They offered it. And I reluctantly agreed, and I'm often regretting it because they are monsters of getting stuff done. And my back injury absolutely slows the progress down. But I think business, if you look at it as just a initial friendship with some money involved, you end up with a lot better scenario. People are not looking to screw you. Well, people are not looking to do wrong unto you. Not often, at least. You need to make certain that you approach it the same way. Because if you approach every relationship as, oh, they're going to screw me, it's going to be a bad deal, they're going to take the money and run, you never get time to learn about the people you're working with. And you just are always the Dale Gribble thinking that the government is trying to steal everything from you. David Randolph says, I want a portion of my clients' profits. Teachers don't profit, so my portion is small. But if you're in a Fortune 500, then I'm getting the big margins. It's true. Yeah. If you come from a Fortune 500 or a Fortune 50, you are paying way more than the regular person off the street. And guess what? You already know that you are, because you know how this goes. We had someone try to get around that system, except one time they emailed me from their very, 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 very Fortune 50 government contracting company. And I said, have you been trying to get retail pricing as a government contractor? He's like, yeah. I said, yeah, that stops here. And I said, if you don't accept my new pricing, I'm cutting you as a client. I said, that's not fair. That's being deceptive. And you're taking advantage of the fact that we give better value to small people that are trying to do stuff. So it doesn't happen often, but we find that you do good when you can, and good comes back. You might not get it back immediately. You're certainly not going to ever see, every ounce of good that you put in come back. But why be an asshole all the time? When you can be nice to people, you can help them out, you can assume they don't have malice at heart, and when you believe that they might, and, they kind of show it to you. You put up your dukes, you make sure your protections are in place, you hunker down, and you weather the storm. I'm not going to say that I have all the answers, because I don't. But if you believe that you have it all right, I believe you have it way more wrong than you think. Business, relationships, everything is about constantly getting better, constantly being better, constantly being a better person to the next, to the next, to the next. And hey, if you're lucky, you might make some money off of it. Gotta love it. Harris Taylor with the $4.99 saying, thanks, Grant. Gotta run, but I always love listening in and the insights you share. Keep making awesome. That reminds me. Thanks, Harris. Thanks for reminding me that I have to email you. I've been forgetting to email them. I got the package that you sent, assuming you're still here. I got the new ones. And as you can tell, it's been very busy here. This is where I suck at communicating sometimes. I have not gotten back to Harris and the team over at Diamondback, and I need to do that. So, assuming I don't forget, I will do that as soon as this podcast is over, which we're probably wrapping it up here pretty soon. So, thanks for the $4.99 reminder. I'm glad you enjoy these episodes. I look at business as another opportunity to do good in life. It is an opportunity to adjust somebody's day from being bad to good. It's an opportunity to help someone get to where they need to go. And I believe if that's how you go about starting your business, while you will struggle more than those that are out to just, do wrong and steal and, profit off of pain of others, you will certainly feel better on the inside. And I've always been told it's what's on the inside that counts. So, I'll take it. As long as it's not what's on the inside of my wallet, because that thing's got more moths in it than I care to talk about. It's very empty. David Randolph says, be nice to other businesses, not just people. You would be surprised. It comes back as well. I'm nice to most of my competitors. Dude, same. I know most of my local competitors. There's only one that I'm hostile toward because they attempted to, well, they did. They sent out a burn letter. We used to run their entire technical support division, and they randomly sent out a burn letter on us, and it really hurt our business. They made no attempt to communicate with me. They made no attempt to talk with me. They just sent out this burn. This was years ago, too. They sent out this burn letter, and it ruined relationships because nobody knew what was going on, and so they trusted what this letter said versus me. A lot of them called. They said, what the hell is going on with this letter? I said, that's a great question. I am just finding out about this too. Let me figure it out. I still to this day don't know why. I contacted that company to figure out why they sent the letter, what it was about, because we provided amazing customer support for them. And we never heard back. So to this day, there's that only one customer, one competitor that I am hostile towards. But they violated the basic laws of life, okay? Rule number 1 is don't be a dick. Rule number 2 is if you're going to be a dick, be a big one. They played by rule number 2, so I'm going to do the same way as well. But you'll see I will never mention them. I'll never mention their name. I'll never mention the people involved because I don't want to. I want to explain the situation, but I don't want to, flame the people that are responsible because they probably don't know what they did or the impact of it. I want everybody to thrive in this world, and I don't know if we get there by trying to take advantage of others. I think, yeah, we have to make enough money to survive, make enough money to profit, make enough money to be human. That's okay. But we also have to make sure that we are being right to others. So, yeah, if a client comes to you for the first time and they need something overnight, that may not be something that you can handle. Or maybe not something you want to handle. Talk to them. See why. Maybe there's a reason. But if it's a long-standing customer, it is often within your best interest to help them out of a pickle. Because in the event that you screw up, they're going to remember that time where you helped them. And it all just kind of works out in the end. I know it is very easy for a lot of us to sit there and point fingers and say, you did bad, you did bad, you did bad, you did bad, you did bad. It's easy for me to call out Bamboo. It's easy for me to assume that they're absolute idiots. But I like to believe that they're just newer than I initially expected. And that while I can put on my tinfoil hat and assume they're being malicious, it is way more beneficial for me, especially the content creator, to assume that they just don't know what they've done and try to explain it and hope that maybe they do actually watch. Maybe they can learn a thing or two. And while my relationship with them will probably never be good, and I doubt they will ever support this channel, it doesn't matter to me. Because if we can enact proper change in this industry by calling out people for doing things that are bad, and at the same time do our best to make things better for future customers, then you know what? I think we've done our job. The same way that I would call out any other company. But I am doing more work behind the scenes than I am in front of the scenes now to try to build this better by more than just myself. If you are looking to get into 3D modeling, you also have to set boundaries. What you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And you will have to understand that Yeah, people are going to test that. The not safe for work market in the 3D modeling industry is very broad, very imaginative, and a lot of them have very deep pockets. Very deep pockets. If you're willing to, well, design some stuff that might seem a little weird to you, boy, you can make a lot of money. Love them or hate them, there's a lot of money in the stuff that the average person would be like, ugh. So maybe you have two sides of your business. The before dark and the after dark. That's something to consider. A lot of designers will put up, literally, it was the last print that I did of 2020. It came in December 31st of 2020. Somebody sent me some molds. There's a bath bomb mold maker. They sent me molds to print, or masters, bucks are the technical term, to print. They were penises. I said, well, that is the way to end 2020. It's boned me all year. Might as well end it by printing penises. That customer used us for their not safe for work stuff because their current 3D printer was like very religious, would not do it. I fired that client after they asked me to come down a penny on my price because they had somebody else that was willing to beat me by a penny. And I said, no. I said, well, then I'm going to go with the other person. I said, good. Take care. You're not going to fight for me? No, I'm not going to fight for you. I'm not. It's not my business. I'm not going to fight for a client. They did a couple of grand with us, but yeah. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. Don't be afraid to fire clients. You want to make sure that you keep the right level with you at all times. We got some comments here. Mod Mike says, did you see the bamboo bimetal hot end with removable hardened steel nozzles? Imagine fitting a Diamondback nozzle. You'd have a pretty industrial printer. I wouldn't, because the printer still wouldn't freaking work. But those are not bamboo certified components. So I am not putting them on my machine. The only non-bamboo certified components I'm putting on my machine are build plates and AMS feed guide tubes. I love these P-Series plates from Fabrico. They are so freaking nice. So freaking nice. But, yeah. Not my bag of chips, I guess. I'm not a huge fan of modding printers. Mod Mike also says, get yourself... Oh, you are an amazing presenter. Make yourself a nice studio. I don't have the money for that. I don't have the money for that. I'm trying. We just added a bigger air conditioner in my garage so we can stream out there. I ran a 24-hour test to keep my garage at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. 85 degrees Fahrenheit. It is $1.50 a day in power to do it. And, no. So now I'm looking at insulation. We will start to do more streaming. I was going to be streaming this Wednesday, but it looks like we have a hurricane coming through. So, as funny as it would be to stream during a hurricane, that is in my garage, which has no insulation, which means it's going to be loud, and I don't want to do that. But yes, Fabrico is amazing. Highly recommend Fabrico. But yeah. And no Hydra AMS. Jonathan says Hurricane Stream. Tarsman013 says Hurricane Stream. I will, so 4-hour Discord server. I will go outside during the hurricane. If you want me to go outside during, I will go outside, but I'm not going to do that on YouTube. Sorry. That has no value to what we do. It's not a big hurricane. Waffle Houses aren't even preparing for it. I think we're expecting Tropical Storm or Category 1, which means my trees are going to get trimmed and I'm not going to have to do the work. So, it's what I love about the small hurricanes. It's a Cat 1. Okay. All right. No big deal. It's like sticking your head out the window on a highway. It's cat one. Anyways, enough on the hurricane talk. I do want everybody to succeed. And that is often a downfall of mine, where I will give people the benefit of the doubt where they certainly have not earned it. Because I do just want people to have a good life, to succeed. Yeah, it's a thing. Be the person that wants others to succeed, but also be the one that trusts but verifies. Be the one that maybe won't get as taken advantage of as you might think. Be the one that stands up for good. Be the one that does good. Be the change that you want to see in your community. And if you can get there, I got faith you can grow a business. Patreon, PayPal, Thangs, Printables, My Mini Factory, Cults, they all have ways that you as an artist can get support. There's Ko-Fi and some others as well. Go get on the platforms, show off your work, give some stuff away, be available. You'll make it happen. You'll make it happen. I have faith. I have faith. And that's where I'm going to wrap up the main talk. If you guys have any questions, let me know in those comments, and we will talk about it. It's K-O-F-I, Ko-Fi, I think is how they do it. But apparently I'm supposed to say it as coffee. Or should it be kofefe? I don't know. Mod Mike says, how about a pull-down background? There is no space for that here. In fact, there is no space. There's absolutely no space for something like that here. So, no pull-down backgrounds, and we would have to green screen it. And besides, it's a workshop, right? We are working on, I have some plans for a new podcast set that is going to be in my audio room. That is currently in active construction. We have some awesome content coming out, including taking a look at the Truth Ear, right? Yeah, Truth Ear Holas. These are 3D printed in-ear monitors, which is really cool. And they're printed on Hey-Gear's 3D printers because they actually like tell it to you. Like it's on the box. They tell you that it is printed on Hey-Gear's machines. So yeah, we're going to take a look at this. We're going to take a look at some 3D printed headphones coming soon. And then that is going to be my introduction to show you guys what I have been working on. And yes, they are 3D printed IEMs. Pretty cool. Oh, how dare you say Hola with the H? Hola. Are they supposed, I figure you're supposed to have the hard H in it. I could be wrong. But yeah, and Mod Mike says, sorry, not being insulting about your environment despite the bamboo rants. I really like your channel, actually better than some of the top guys. Okay, I'm supposed to say it as Ola. All right, well, fine. I'll start pronouncing it that way. Excuse me. Yeah, people, you either like the bamboo rants or you don't. I believe that there is value to them. I believe that there is real emotion. And for those that are in our Patreon or Discord or anything like that, you've actually seen the raw rants where I will often record myself 3 or 4 times before I do the final recording for the channel, because I want to make sure that I get everything out that I needed to say. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird like that. But that's it, guys. We're going to call this one here. I definitely want to thank you all for coming out, hanging out, having a good stream. I need to capture how many dropped frames I had so I can show the Spectrum guy that's coming later this evening. But that is it. That's all I got for you guys. I appreciate y'all coming out, hanging out, and enjoying an awesome show. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all those things. And as always, keep making awesome. Oh, okay. And a belly rub. Have a good one. Yep, there it is. Okay, I'm sorry. See you later, guys.